So in Photoshop, eventually what you have, and I like to use this so you can see when you're using layers. And these are what we call layers in Photoshop. And we love them. But the thing about these layers across digital media, every digital media program you come across, whether it be audio, video, 3D animation, 2D animation, video, all of anything that is digital media, and that includes the audio and so forth, is what we call the layers and the tracks, right? Now, those are what we call content creators, where we're mixing and matching and all of the above and so forth. But really, the bottom line, let me pull this down because I can see. You may not see it. And let me try to get this to be, I'm trying to just move this around so we can see all of that we want to see. There we go. And so here, this is, as we say, our Photoshop with our tools. And this is what we're going to spend a lot of our time in, along with Bridge, which we'll come to next. But the critical component, when you open up a file, so in other words, if you downloaded this file, which is what you're going to do, and you go to File, the most important thing you do whenever you are working in digital media, working with Photoshop, I'm talking about static images, not time-based, is you immediately go to image size. Now, this image size is your reality check. And it's really important never to make an assumption that if a client gives you something, it's of good quality. Never think of it that way. Nothing is good quality until you check it out and see what it actually is. And so this gives you a parameter to understand. And Alex, are you with me? I know you probably have your microphone off, but I want you to unmic it because I know I did see you that you were here. Alex, where are you? There you are, Alex. Alex took a break. Okay. So anyway, the important thing right here is image size. So you see the resolution? Does anybody know what's the important resolution for print?
180.
That's actually incorrect. But I appreciate you responding, Val, because it is a good answer to have, but that 150 or 180 is really in the ballpark of web. So because our monitors are getting bigger and bigger, 150 is good, but by default, 72 is a web format. You could never really print this. So you have to remember there's a world of a difference between web and print. And a lot of inexperienced people really mess things up and lose opportunities. I mean, you could literally be fired if you didn't have the basis of resolution understanding. So the question is that, number one, this would have to be 300. So when you come up here to, let me just cancel this. Just to give you an example, when you go to File, New, in most Adobe programs, and thank goodness, this has made my life really easy, they have set templates for you. So you see here, print. Print under 8.5 by 11 is always going to be 300. So it's important to know that if you're going to be doing print, no question about it, it's got to be 300. And if you have something less than that, then you have to let and you do this in writing, in an email. You have to let them know that the quality is not good enough for print at the size that they want it. Now, if they want it to be smaller size, we can possibly do that. And now I'm going to show you why. So we'll come back to this, but let me just show you again on that image size, because this is what we do. We download an image, we upload client images, and we look at them one by one to be sure of the resolution. So this is a web context, and you see it's images. It's only pixels, right? This is only pixels. and this is inches, so it's 6 inches by 10. That could not be printed. But if I wanted to print it, I could say, okay, client, I can possibly print this by changing this. And so what you want to be sure to do is have this resampling off. Now watch what happens to the size when I change it. It just changed it. So now what that did is that I can deliver this image print quality, but it's only going to be 2 inches by 1 inches at 300. So in that context, that's why, so if we go to this cubism one, let's go to the print one. Let's go to image size. Now this one is 16 inches. Still, it's a web resolution. And if I wanted it to be for print, for a magazine, if I wanted to, let me just cancel this. If I wanted this all to be on for a print situation, for a job, I would come up to image size, resampling is off, change it to 300, and that image could print really well, only for 4x3. Okay, so now there's lots of ways to, and there's lots of third-party programs that will go, you know, we can take a bad picture and make it good, but you have to be really careful about that. And one of the reasons why I love web so much is that there's a lot of room for error. There's a lot of wiggle room, but in print there is no wiggle room. It is what it is. And that's why when you start out in Photoshop, you'll see the default for print is going to be 300. So that's the standard size to 300. Did Alex come back yet? Alex, not sure if you came back from your break. So
yes, I'm sorry too.
There you are, Alex. I called upon you because you took digital imaging. So I know that this is going to be really, you're going to know all these answers.
Hopefully.
Only kidding, only kidding. Okay, so so the important part, Alex, that we were talking about is, do you remember when if you scanned an image that was maybe a postage stamp and you wanted to be a poster size, do you remember what you did?
You had to say, I know this. I don't remember. You told me about the when on those boards in Manhattan, those great screens that
Yes,
said
exactly.
my iPhone, something like that. I don't really remember that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm so glad you brought that up. So thank you, Alex. Yeah, I mean, this is where, you know, a class like this will reinforce your knowledge. And so what Alex is talking about is, you know, you see all those iPhone pictures on billboards, and you go, gee, how do they get the resolution shooting from an iPhone and putting it onto a Times Square building? So what Alex is remembering is that you see here the resolution. If I take my image and I want it to be 30 feet by 60 feet, now you really couldn't do this on your workstation. You would have to take this to a professional place. They would scan, you would print your image first on an 8x10, 8x11, 8x10. You would print it first on paper, good quality paper. Then you would scan it to be maybe 12,000 or whatever it is to bring up the resolution for the billboard. And so that's where you get good quality on things that are small. So that's what your memory was kicking into it. So if you had a postage stamp and you wanted it to be a poster, you know, a large size poster, when you scanned it on your scanner, you would scan it to maybe 1,200 to maybe even 6,000, depending on your consumer scanner. And then that would give you a postage stamp that's 1 inch by 2 inch, but really big and a print quality. And that is how they get those iPhone photographs. Print it first on 8x10, take it to a commercial service, They probably scan it at 30,000 resolution, and that's how you get the large size. So that is why shooting with your camera can give you feature film HD quality in what you take. And so it's very good to know that you can produce the highest end in resolution because of what we have today in our digital devices. So outside of the 300, we then come to things like when you open this up, always transparency. Don't use your background colors, always transparency. You can always make a layer that is a color. And in the profiling. So Alex, sorry to pick on you. Oh no, let's pick on Giovanni today. Giovanni, I want you to tell me the systems. What's the difference between Cmyk and RGB?
Well, RGB is red, green, and blue. Cymk is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black.
Right. So why do we use the two of them?
I know the answer to this, but I can't think of it right now.
I remember this. I think it's one is for printing and one is for digital.
Bingo! I am so happy. Exactly. That is critical, folks. That's really super critical because our world is two worlds in digital media. It is, well, there's three worlds. Okay, I'll take that back. One is print, package design, billboards, brochures, anything print. Web, static pages, web images. Third, time-based video, right? So those formats are up here. So when you're making things in Photoshop, you can make a video in Photoshop. So some of us who know only Photoshop and not Premiere, you'll be making your video in Photoshop. People who know Premiere or would like to know Premiere, we'll do it in Premiere. We'll do a couple of ones. But you see, these give you the formats. So I love this web format, you know, in mobile. You know, they give you all kinds of different sizes here. And so in web, these are workstations. And they give you the pixel dimension. You notice you see the resolution changes. When you go to film base, resolution is 72. When you go to print, resolution is 300. Now here's the deal when obviously you have a deliverable and that deliverable is in three formats. It's going to be in print, it's going to be in web, and it's going to be in video. Those three formats, you would start all of the content creation in 300 DPI because 300 can always go down to 72. Always. No sweat. Can always go down. But you cannot bring up 72 in the exact size to 300. So when you have clients that say, you know, I only want a web page, I only want a website, and then midstream they go, oh yeah, by the way, I really need a package design. What? You never said print to me. So always assume these clients are not going to remember to tell you things. So it's always best to work in high quality. You can't go wrong. You can't lose things. You can always go down and convert to web and all those other formats. So that's why these are what we call the fundamental things to understand. So when a client says they have a small picture and they need it to be big, you just learn the process on how to get that little picture to be good quality by the scanning in your scanner. Now your phone, unfortunately, is not that good in laying things flat and having the right correction. You know, if you had a tripod, yes, you could get away with it. But that's why we love scanners. That's why we love, you know, customer service vendors that do scanning for you and scan it, and you charge the client. You don't have to pay things when you need the client to do things. So that's why the scanning is how you get your picture to be bigger, by increasing the resolution. And again, the formats for all your formats are here for doing the sizes. So whenever you create something new, it's a blank image, but you set the parameters for the deliverable. And we'll get into that as more. So the formats, let's go to File, Save As. Save on my computer. Let me get to where I need to be. And right here, I don't think I can get bigger on this. What we want to see is these formats. Let me get this, hold on. Let me try to see if this will get to be big for us. Save As on computer. Not too big. Let me see if I can, I'm doing things I never do. No, it's still on the bottom. I can't help that on for you. So it is on the bottom. Can everyone see this? Rosie, can you see it? Okay, good. Look at all these formats. These are why is this here? Because these are actually deliverables to clients. So let's kind of talk quickly about them because the videos I've given you. But I like this Save As because Photoshop is like, we got to give them the most important formats. So again, PSD is the most important format in creating content for what we're talking about as far as images are concerned. Not time-based, but images static. The other one would be an Illustrator, and that would be an AI file. So what we call the authoring document, the document that you have created for the deliverable, that is the most important document, not the exportable document, not the exportable format. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about exportable formats right now. But when you're creating, the most important document is that PSD. And so there is your PSD. So you want to be sure when you save, you're saving it as a PSD. The second one that's very important is EPS. EPS is commonly utilized within offsetting printers. When you send the job to do 10,000 brochures, or you send the job to go to billboards, or you send the job to be a print all by itself. Sometimes the EPS is something that they may ask for. And again, in the format would be CMYK for print. So you would start your image in CMYK and you would export your symbol as CMYK for print. So RGB is all electronic, web, time-based, anything that you plug in is RGB. CMYK is always flat, which is the additive color system. And then now we have a Jiff. Alex and Giovanni, tell me the difference between a ping and a Jiff.
The difference between a ping and a GIF is that a GIF is multiple images and they're like in a sequence, so it makes it look like it's moving. An
animated GIF. So that would be an animated GIF. But you can have a static GIF as well, right? It's only if you built that animated GIF in Photoshop, and Photoshop is fantastic with animated GIFs, even better than Flash. So, and Alex, are you with me?
Yes.
So the ping, what does ping and GIF have in common?
Transparency.
Exactly. And what's their, since they both have transparency, what difference of the transparency does ping have over GIF?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, that's okay. So here's what's important for everyone as you're listening. A GIF only has one color transparency. You can only choose one color, and you often choose the background. But you'll see that pixelization, the bitmap. A ping will give you an alpha transparency where you can have an opacity level change, like drop shadows. And the drop shadow is 30%. of a shadow, and then the outside is it. So it's a higher quality ability of multiple transparencies because it's called the alpha channel. So you could have something that's 20% opacity and you will see that. You could never see that in a GIF, never. So those are big, big differences between the GIFs and the PNGs, and these are most common. These are the most universal formats that everybody uses. So the other difference between GIFs, and I'm not going to export this, is on here. Let me come over here to Photoshop. Is that a GIF, when we do an export, let me zoom in first so you can see the difference. We zoom in and we go to export, save for web. So animated GIFs and GIFs are often most of the time for web. So I'm going to change it to GIF. And now here are the colors. So GIF only has 256 colors, and that is it. JPEGs and PNGs have 1 million colors. They don't even show them to you. So GIF has a certain amount. So like if I zoom in on this, let's zoom in so you can really see this. Oops, yeah. So there's 256 colors. Now I have to tell you folks, I don't know why Photoshop hasn't given this to me yet, and I keep thinking the next version is going to do it. There is not one filter in Photoshop that gives you this quality. If you find it, please let me know, okay? Because the only way that I can get this quality of a filter, which is this lovely pixelization, which is what I'm desiring, is that you have to export it as a GIF, as an image, and then bring it back into your composite to use it. No Photoshop filter gives us this. So if you find it, please let me know, because it's just phenomenal. There is posterization, but even posterization does not give you this good quality. And I'll show you why, unless they've improved it. And that's where it would be, is in posterization. So watch what happens when I change the color on this. So now you see, if I zoom out, that's my only two colors. And if I brought it back, the colors would come back and so forth. And so that's when you change this. If I go to PNG, it's going to give me the good quality like the JPEG and so forth. And so that's when, when we are saving this under Save As, all these formats that we're talking about, those are the difference between the two. So PNG is very good for web because if you do have a drop shadow and you need the alpha channel, it has better anti-aliasing. GIFs, because of 250 colors, have terrible, they have that staircasing one. Now, the other important format that we use in the world today is Tiff. Tiff is a very high quality image, and a lot of photographers use this to keep the quality that they want. So there's no compression. There is a compression in JPEG. And sometimes we have to worry about that for print. We don't have to worry about that at all for web or video. But so TIFF is often, or the EPS is often, the raw camera one too. There's a raw camera that you'll see when we get into Photoshop RAW right here. Photoshop RAW is like the bridge Photoshop RAW. And so that will not compress your photograph coming off the mobile device. So that's important to know in that context. So these are just things that we're going to come together in understanding our images. So let me get this back down so we can see this. And we're almost at our time. I think we are.